Welcome to our 2024 season of Cloud Industry Forum presents TWF. I'm speaking to you live from our mixed reality studio with the help of our friends here at Disruptive Live. On this TechWave Forum podcast, we interview a guest from our members, someone with something to say about cloud technology or AI or digital transformation or leadership, or with ideas about what's coming next. I'm David Terrar, and I'm CEO of the Cloud Industry Forum, which is a not-for-profit trade body that champions and helps accelerate the adoption of cloud technology and services. If you want to find out more about what we do and how we help, go to cloudindustryforum.org. I'm at DT on X, David_Terrar on Threads and Instagram, and I'm easy to find on the web and LinkedIn. Now, primary research is one of the key things that we provide for our members and the market. This week, we published the 2024 version of our annual cloud research report. This year's is called Tough Times, but Innovation Springs Eternal, with the subtitle of How Cloud is the Key Technology Enabler Helping Businesses Innovate in Turbulent Period. Instead of the usual interview, in today's show, I'll summarise the highlights and the themes uncovered from the data in that survey, along with my take on what it means and how it might affect the future. Before we get to our report, what's the tech landscape and the tech news backdrop that we're launching our report against? Well, possibly the biggest tech story of the last week was about an advert from one of the tech giants that hit a very wrong note. Apple did probably the biggest and most significant refresh of their iPad Air and iPad Pro range since the very first iPad launched in 2010. But instead of talking about that and the new range, the airtime has been dominated by an advert they played at the launch and repeated afterwards. In it, a huge array of creative tools from piano, musical instruments, record player, books, sculptures, drawings, paintings, and the paint and brushes and supplies and technology that created them all are being slowly crushed and destroyed by a huge industrial press, all distilled down into the new thinnest iPad. I get what they were trying to say, but their message was completely lost. Instead of celebrating creativity, it portrayed destruction. They were crushing it, but not in the way that they intended to. Hugh Grant has accused Apple of the destruction of the human experience courtesy of Silicon Valley. Justine Bateman said it was an ad that crushes the arts. All the tech news spots that followed, and even mainstream media like the BBC News, weren't saying a thing about the thinnest ever iPad, the amazing new OLED screens on the Pro, or the processing speed and efficiency of the M4 chips. They were talking about this advert. Now, some of you will know that I'm a big Apple fan, but this was a moment, a big fail in their messaging, and a lesson for all of us not to get too close. You need to step back and look at things with fresh eyes every so often. So that's last week, but what about year to date? Well, analysts, investors and the media are focusing intensely on capital expenditures by our tech giants, including Microsoft and Meta and Google and others, to understand the industry's bet on the cloud and artificial intelligence, and the numbers are starting to get big. Microsoft's capital expenditure rose 79% to a record $14 billion in their March quarter. Their CFO told analysts that CapEx will keep growing in the next fiscal year, which starts in July. Google's parent, Alphabet, reported capital expenditures of $12 billion, up 90%. Their CFO said that was driven overwhelmingly by investment in our technical infrastructure, and that the increase reflects our confidence in the opportunities offered by AI across our business. Facebook's parent company Meta reported $6.7 billion in quarterly capital expenditures, down from $7 billion a year, but actually it raised its CapEx guidance for the whole year to a range of $35 to $40 billion, up from $30 to $37 billion before. Now, all of this CapEx is good news for cloud and AI, and includes upgrading and building new data centers, developing and procuring specialised chips and GPUs to train and run AI foundation models, laying new transoceanic cables, and all the other infrastructure needed to support what's coming. What else is in the backdrop? It's great to see that Europe is leading the way on AI regulation and governance. On March the 13th, the European Parliament had a landmark decision approving their AI regulation that sets a complete regulatory framework focusing on safety and transparency and accountability across the European Union. This will undoubtedly influence global policy around data privacy and intellectual property and the risks and rewards of the impact of AI on our sector and the creative industries. So that's the backdrop. When I look back towards last year's research report, it's clear that 2023 was a pivotal year. And continuing to this point in 2024, our new reports, adding to all of this investment in infrastructure that I just talked about, shows we've passed through an AI-infused inflection point, supported by cloud technology. Things will be different going forwards. So what does our report say? Along with that recent tech news, the backdrop is turbulent times. And to quote Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency, we are seeing and suffering from the fundamental interconnectedness of all things. We're suffering the after effects of the post-pandemic world, with added shocks from the climate crisis, the war in Ukraine, the conflict in Gaza, all causing significant disruption to supply chains, contributing to a rise in energy costs and prices. And those economic losses have created a cost of living crisis across most countries. In this year's survey, 82% of the respondents said that the current global economic climate had at least some impact on their IT plans. We're seeing significant layoffs in the tech sector over the last year, and they're still happening. But we've also experienced a surge in innovation with new ideas and new thinking fueled by this explosion of generative AI and access to large language models. Ask the question in any room or meeting in our sector, who's used ChatGPT or some form of generative AI, and all of the hands go up. Almost all of us are seeing the value AI can bring to productivity and services that we provide our customers. Now, here's one of the key findings in our data that emphasise that. Almost everyone in the survey respondents have AI in their plans, but nearly 2/3 of them are already using it. And that's representing probably the fastest speed of adoption of new enterprise tech ever. To amplify that, including the companies we've mentioned, the so-called Magnificent Seven of Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta, all closely associated with AI, collectively increased in market value by 111% in 23. Add that to the investments from this year, and it gives a definite feeling of optimism going forward, even set against these global conditions. Now, cloud remains an essential enabler, with all of our surveyed companies using cloud services. 49% of them have a cloud-first strategy, and 49% of them have a hybrid approach. This emphasises that there are no one-size-fits-all solutions, and that smart companies are choosing the appropriate services and tools for each job. However, half of the survey said that migration had been more complex than expected, while 41% said their cloud costs had been too high. That's up from 33% in the last report. And that's a worrying trend, and it explains the increased focus on cloud economics and FinOps, but also points to the need for better planning, greater visibility, control over costs where possible, and we'll be covering those kinds of topics in our written content, in webinars and in video podcasts this year, and maybe we'll launch some training around this too. Now, despite some reports suggesting that the organisations are reducing their ESG focus, this year's data shows that many businesses remain fully committed to their sustainability initiatives. However, at the end of the procurement cycle, we're still seeing that cost is king. It's important to understand this tension between cost control and increased infrastructure demands that AI solutions will bring, and the need for clearly defined plans, controlled and monitoring cloud migration, cloud first, and AI. Now, yes, 2023 was a pivotal year, but I believe that it's the platform for a new phase of fast proliferating new technologies, powered and amplified by AI, but all underpinned by cloud technology for supporting the compute and storage and network bandwidth that they'll all require. The way we interact with technology is changing. We're moving beyond keyboard and mouse and multi-touch screen technology to a more immersive 3D web with voice and gestures and eye tracking. Now, is this the third wave of the internet? Is it the fifth industrial revolution? Whatever we call it, the opportunity for information and innovation and new thinking and increased digitization is there for our members and their customers. Now, here are some of the other highlights from the report. 100% of surveyed organisations said they're accessing cloud-based services, with AWS, Azure, IBM, Google, Oracle and Salesforce and Alibaba and OVH Cloud all getting a mention in our report. As you might expect, the most common motivation for using cloud is the potential to offer greater flexibility of IT spend at 33%, while 32% of organisations cited cloud's ability to make them more agile as a business. 37% of businesses said that between 40 to 60% of their IT infrastructure is hosted in the cloud, while 29% of respondents reported that they host 60 to 80% of their IT assets that way. As you might expect, 42% of respondents reported that they consider AI among the most important IT projects, just ahead of security and sustainability, both at 40%. Along with the incredible rate of adoption already mentioned, 96% report that GenAI will, or has already, benefited their organisation, with data analytics, customer services and new products and services all being referenced. So that's the report. This year's report has comments from our members Lenovo and OVH Cloud and Kaizo and Armour. And our Cloud Industry Forum Forum Chair, Ian Jeffs of Lenovo, closes the report saying, while 2023 was a year of the generative AI explosion, the rest of 2024 will no doubt see it continues to take centre stage. But there's also a clear openness from businesses to invest time in exploring the rewards of technologies such as machine learning and data analytics, IoT and the metaverse. By continuing to innovate and dedicating time to fulfilling potential of new technologies, businesses will be well equipped to not just survive, but to thrive in the coming years. So that's the report. I hope you enjoyed my summary of it. I must remind you, it's called Tough Times, but Innovation Springs Eternal. If you want to hear more, you want a copy of it, or you want a briefing around the report, please contact me or go to the resources pages on our website, or email us at info@cloudindustryforum.org. We'll be back next Wednesday at 14:30 UK time. We want your feedback and your suggestions, or maybe you want to be a guest on the show. Please put some comments here or email us, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. As always, we hope to see you next week or next time.